What are the good and bad things about Austin, Texas? This is such a common question that we get from clients that I decided to make a pros and cons video to benefit everybody and anybody who's thinking about possibly moving here to Austin or to the greater surrounding areas of Austin. So if you're thinking about moving to Austin, Texas, this is surely a video you do not want to miss. Now, please make sure you stick around to the end because some of the cons, they may not surprise you, but they may end up costing you if you don't know what they are. Hey, welcome to Austin Homes for Sale. My name is Joseph Gonzales, a real estate agent serving the Austin and greater Austin areas. And what we're doing here is trying to share as much information we can about the Austin real estate market that other agents aren't sharing. The other thing that we do is we do a lot of home tours of homes that you may be possibly interested in purchasing or just seeing if you like looking at home tours. So make sure you go ahead and like and subscribe if that's something you're into. All right, so let's dig into the real pros and cons of America's 10th largest city, Austin, Texas. I think the best thing we can do is start with the cons, and the first thing that we're going to discuss is traffic. Just like any other city, Austin has its fair share of traffic, especially because it is a blossoming and booming city. It's continuing to grow. Now, before you move to Austin, one thing that I think you should know about the highways is there's one major highway that cuts through the center of Austin that I think everybody should understand and know about, and you'll learn a little bit more about that here in a bit. However, we have several major highways that run through the city, and I think we should start with the toll road 130. Now, 130 is a toll road that is on the east side of Austin, and what that does is it actually takes you around the outside of Austin and can lead you all the way to Bastrop, all the way up to I-10 in San Antonio area. And the great thing about that is you pay a toll and you can go up to, I believe, 85 miles per hour. Don't quote me on that. I am not a law officer or a police officer. Just make sure you follow the speed limit signs. But a lot of people use it to go faster and get places faster. Next up, we'll have Loop 1. And Loop 1 basically winds through the north part of Austin and it eventually connects to the 130 highway and allows you to just get to places a little bit faster than taking other roads that you may have to take, smaller roads that you would have to take in order to get to these places. And the next highway I want to talk about is SH45. It is actually has a north section and it has a south section. Essentially what that does is it cuts through the north side and it cuts through the south side to get you places faster. One stretch is about 10 miles and the other stretch is about 7.5 miles. And we saved the best for last, which is IH35. As much as it connects Austin to all these other cities like Dallas, Fort Worth, San Antonio, if you are in and on 35 during peak traffic hours, call it rush hour, you will be sitting bumper to bumper. And so you just have to know that if you're planning on moving here, if IH35 is your main source of getting to places within and around Austin, just know that bumper to bumper at 5 o'clock or first thing in the morning is something that you will have to deal with. Now, for those of you who are moving to Austin that may be doing a lot of driving, one thing to consider is there are park and rides, and there is a metro rail that runs, I believe, from the north side of Austin to the central downtown part of Austin. But I think the park and rides are a great place to be able to go park your car, get into basically a shared ride, if you will, and get to downtown. It makes your commute just a lot easier. Now, these highways that I just discussed do help with the commute, so that's something to keep in mind. Now, the other thing that I think I didn't mention was, although we do have our fair share of traffic, it is not like other places. Like Houston has a ton of traffic and some really large highways. Austin doesn't have a lot of big, like multi 7, 8, 9 lane highways. However, I think it is underdeveloped for the amount of people that are moving here. And so just keep that in mind if you're coming to visit. That's something that we can discuss and make sure that you know more about. Now, number 2 on our list is taxes. As they say, the only things guaranteed in life are death and taxes. And we need to make sure we discuss the taxes here in Texas and specifically in Austin. Now, while it's true and it's great that we don't have an income tax, there is a sales tax, and that sales tax is slightly higher than most places at 8.25%. The other tax that you're going to want to consider is our property tax. Our property tax compared to a lot of other states is also higher. Yes, we get rid of the income tax, but we have the property tax. Now, the property tax can range from under 2% all the way up to 4% and above. Now, keep in mind that there are a lot of new homes being built here in Austin as compared to other states that may not have as many new homes being built, which means the roads and everything else that goes with these new homes does have to be paid for, including the schools. So something to consider when it comes to property taxes and property is a multi-million-dollar home in California could be a starter home here in Texas, meaning that the same size home that you would get in California, you could probably get a much larger home for a lot less and also get a lot more yard as well. Now, before we get to number 3 and number 4, I'd like to ask a favor. If you could, if you're enjoying this video, give it a like, drop a comment down below, and subscribe to see our home tours and more informational videos if you're considering moving to Austin. With that being said, let's jump back in the video. All right, so next up we have weather and flooding. Now, personally, I would probably take a really hot day over a snowy, super cold, rainy day almost any day of the week, but not everybody loves Austin's hot summers. And now the great thing whenever it comes to weather is because we're so central, we do skip out on a lot of the other cities, natural disasters that they may run into, where you've got like Houston that is going to have hurricanes. You've got Dallas that's probably going to get a lot of hail for whatever reason. Further parts of North Texas that will get tornadoes. And so being central, we really do insulate ourselves. I guess the state of Texas and Austin specifically insulates itself from a lot of natural disasters. Now, Austin isn't perfect when it comes to weather. There are some rural areas and some small segments near Onion Creek that will flood whenever we do get a lot of rain. But in order to combat that, if you're moving here, one thing I would do is just to check to see with your real estate agent or title to see if the home that you're considering purchasing is in a floodplain. And if so, go ahead and purchase flood insurance. Hopefully it's not. And the other thing that I want you to think about is also having like a home kit to be prepared. So if there's any flooding or anything that happens, you are ready for that. All right, so next up, whenever it comes to cons, is construction. Look, any major city that is growing and continuing to, add people to the city, hundreds of people to the city every single day, there's going to be construction. There's going to be road construction. There's going to be new builds. There's going to be new malls, all these things that are happening all the time, right? Now, IH-35, Interstate Highway 35, I don't know, it always seems to be under construction for some reason. All right, now we're gonna move on to the pros, and number one might shock you, but it's cost of living. Now, before you start jumping to the comments and going crazy on me, the thing that I want you to think about is Austin proper, yes, is expensive, but if you start getting outside of Austin to the other cities like Taylor, Hutto, Kyle, Buda, Georgetown, Round Rock, these areas like Leander, your cost of living actually goes down, and especially compared to other cities that we're talking about that are metropolitan areas in places like California or New York. In general, I think that Austin's cost of living is far lower than other cities like San Francisco, LA, Manhattan, and these type of places that people are trying to flock to or nowadays are leaving in order to come to Austin. So that's something to think about. You will have a lower cost of living in Austin compared to those places. Now, when it comes to Texas, Austin will be one of the more expensive places to live, but again, you're insulating yourself from the severe weather. You're getting different things like the hill country, right? But I think in general, whenever we're talking about Austin, we have to think, okay, if we're going to live outside of Austin, I think it's important for me to mention this to you again, that you will find places that are in the $300,000, $400,000 price point that are in great places that give you access to Austin proper. Now, when it comes to cost of living, and we're specifically talking about utilities, Austin will be one of the cheaper places to get your utilities because electricity is deregulated. All right, number two on our pros list is affordability. When it comes to buying a home in Austin, you can actually buy a house on a nice, modest income. So let's say two school teachers, for example, that are married can go out and buy a really nice house just on the outside of Austin with a large yard, probably some full-grown trees. Now, keep in mind, whenever you move closer into the center of Austin, homes will be more expensive. So we want to make sure that if you're moving here, you know that there are some great homes, really large homes that you can buy just on the outside of Austin that are really affordable, I think, whenever compared to other places. And then the other thing to consider is making sure that you still have access to Austin whenever you do move out to these places. You just want to be able to map that out. Now, a lot of the inner city neighborhoods have seen a surge of development, people coming in and putting in money to build these places up, and they've become some of the trendier parts of Austin, but you just have to keep in mind that those places will be more expensive. Now, selecting the neighborhood where you want to actually live, you want to keep a couple of things in mind. You want to keep in mind commute times, what's around you and what's being built around you in the near future. If it's a HEB where you're going to do your grocery shopping, if it's a mall, and then of course, if there's flooding, if it's a rural area, just make sure you talk to us, your real estate agents, or your title company to find out if there's flooding in that area. Keep those things in mind. I think you'll be able to make a good decision. Now, number three on our pros list is going to be the job market. We have tons of jobs available for people that are in the restaurant industry. Obviously, whenever some city is growing like crazy, like Austin is, you're going to have a lot of people that are in the restaurant industry that will come to Austin to get those jobs. You have companies like Tesla, you have companies like Apple, you have companies like Google, and a ton of tech startups that are here in Austin now. Now, because Austin is an older city and we like to keep things weird, you will see that there's a blurred line between what is a residential property and what is a business. Now, years ago, some of these law offices and dentist offices moved into these older homes because there was not zoning laws back then. that allow them to open their businesses into these residential homes. So just keep that in mind as you're moving. You may see a law office or a dentist office right next to a residential home. Now, when it comes to the job market, something that I find really interesting is how often will you go to a bar in a city, specifically in Austin, you're gonna find a doctor, engineer, a nurse, a construction worker, a janitor, all sitting at the bar having a conversation because of all the live music that happens in Austin and the scene that happens in downtown Austin. There's a large convergence of different people that are from diverse backgrounds that come together, listen to live music, enjoy a nice beverage, and it's just a really cool scene to be a part of. Now, number 4 on our pros list, I think this will be a lot of people's favorite, is gonna be food. Now, although we are known for our barbecue and our Tex-Mex, Austin is known for a lot more than just those 2 things. I mean, honestly, why do you think there's Guy Fieri, if I said that correctly, and other TV hosts that host food shows that come to Austin so often, right? It's because it is such an eclectic place to be, and there's such great food for foodies to come and try out and put online and put wherever they're gonna put them because the food scene is so awesome. Now, there are a lot of dishes that are unique to Austin that you'll only find in Austin. The other thing is I think you could eat at a different restaurant probably 1 or 2 times a day, and you could eat for a year without actually eating at the same place or even eating the same food. Now, when it comes to food, I mean, you can eat your classic American food. You can get you a hamburger, a steak with a fried steak specifically with gravy on it. You can have Thai, you can have vegan, you can have Asian, you can have so many different diverse foods that you can come and try in Austin. And I think the list just goes on and on and on. And I think I could talk about food all day long if you can't tell. And the final thing on our pros list is things to do. If you like sports, if you like going outdoors, if you like being on the water, you just will never run out of things to do. If you're a fan of soccer, there's the new Austin FC that has blown up on the scene when it comes to the soccer world. And then there's also the Austin Spurs, which is a staple for Austin people who love basketball. Now, beyond that, obviously the University of Texas is one of the central parts and hearts of Austin. There are a ton of people that live in Austin that went to the University of Texas, and a lot of people that come from around different states and also internationally to come to the University of Texas in order to get their degrees from Austin and the University of Texas specifically. Now, those of you who are coming to Austin and looking for things to do, and you're probably gonna be going to college, there are several other colleges that are within the city limits that you might wanna consider, such as St. Edward's, and I believe there is the Huston-Tilson University that are all within the city limits of Austin. Now, some other things that you can do in Austin is you can actually go to different museums, you can go to different theaters and listen to live music, and if I haven't mentioned it previously, or if I did, I'm gonna mention it again, the food scene combined with the music scene is just something that I think you have to experience whenever you come here. All right, guys, there you have your pros and cons list for Austin, Texas. If this is a place that you're considering moving to, we're gonna pop up our contact information here. If you have any questions about living in Austin, eating in Austin, neighborhoods, anything like that, make sure you subscribe, make sure you reach out to us. Our job is to make sure your move to Austin is a lot easier, and we love doing this type of content to make sure we educate people that are getting ready to move here, both on the pros and cons. With that being said, again, make sure you like, subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next video.